to the already financially strained Ghanaian population and that they will not endorse it. Energy experts are singing the same chorus, and former President John Mahama has added his voice, stating, quote, if they know what is good for them, they should reverse the VAT. They should reverse the VAT they want to charge on the electricity use because Ghanaians will not agree today or tomorrow, unquote. The boss of the electricity company of Ghana also has been speaking on the issue. In an interview on PM Express, he said he has held further interactions with energy and finance ministers to look at the law and what needs to be done about it subsequently. So tonight on Ghana Connect, as the government makes moves to impose 15% VAT on electricity, what is the citizens' verdict on the decision? What is your view? We connect after the break.
When you want to eat, just Momo it. Tired of the long queues in the supermarket? Pay with Momo. When you really want that beautiful new blouse, just Momo it. When you want to get a trim and get fresh to impress you know who, just Momo it. When you need to pay your utility bills and domestic staff, Shani Momo. When you want to send love to the family back home, send some Momo. Join the millions of MTN Momo users all over Ghana and live life the brighter way. So just Momo it. MTN.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
No matter your water needs, Syntex has it all. Syntex Tank was first to introduce double layer tank, and now you can have as many layers as you want. Syntex Tank was first to introduce white inner layer tanks in Ghana, and now introduces the customer specs order, which will let you order any color and size you want. Syntex Tanks gives you the biggest warranty of 7 years, which no other tank gives you. So whatever your water consumption, size of project, or demand, choose Syntex Tank. Syntex Tank, stress-free. Syntex Tank, reliable. Syntex Tank, maximum guarantee. Call 0244 335 168, Kumasi 0505 555 666, or visit syntexgh.com. Syntex Tank, a year strong, a year tough.
It's a century of safeguarding dreams with Enterprise Insurance. In the spirit of our 100th anniversary, Enterprise Insurance revs it up with Yafinia Motor Promotion. One lucky winner will cruise around in a sleek brand new Nissan Kicks SUV. First and second runner-ups will jet off to Dubai for an all-expense paid escape. Renew or get your vehicle insurance between January and June 2024 and win free fuel coupons. Monthly raffle draws give you cool gadgets like laptops, Samsung phones, microwaves, gas cooker, tabletop fridge, and many many more. Enterprise Insurance Yafinia Motor Promotion is on at all our branches. Call your broker or agent to buy or renew your motor insurance and make history with Enterprise Insurance at 100. Celebrating our legacy, securing your future. Time-tested, truly trusted. That's the Enterprise Advantage. Terms and conditions apply. This promo is regulated by the NLA on the Caritas Lottery platform.
Enterprise, your advantage.
Central University, Ghana's leading private Christian university, has open admissions. Apply now for a degree in environmental engineering, fashion design, landscape design, interior design, business administration, economics, law, nursing, civil engineering, architecture, computer science, IT, theology, PharmD, and many others. Degrees are available on our campuses in Mutual, ICGC Christ Temple, Abosokai, and Kumasi. Also enroll in our MBA with various specializations. Scholarships are available for needy but brilliant students. Call us on 0303-318-583 or visit our website at central.edu.gh for more information. Central University, raising transformational leaders through faith, integrity, and excellence.
Dive into a new era of news consumption with myjoyonline.com, your go-to destination for cutting-edge journalism, giving you the most credible stories from business to politics and from sports to entertainment. Myjoyonline.com introduces an upgraded news website meticulously designed to empower you with an enriched browsing experience like never before. Intuitive navigation. Navigate through an array of revamped categories that cater to all interests. Join the conversation with our interactive comments section. Get live TV,
confidence of the football
radio,
they can actually borrow,
and podcast of your favorite TV and radio shows on Joy and Adom platforms. Powerful search. Find any story with ease with a simple click. Access precisely what you're looking for. Experience the future of news browsing with myjoyonline.com.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Ghana Connect. My name is Maxwell Agbagba. Today we are discussing a topic that has got many of you talking: the 15% VAT on electricity. The Trade Union Congress says it will resist any attempt to impose the tax. In fact, you can hear them singing in the background right now. Government itself has admitted that our economy was in a very dark place last year, but things are beginning to improve, although we are not yet out of the woods. Things are comparatively better. In fact, on Tuesday, the Bank of Ghana BOG acknowledged receipt of $600 million as the second tranche of Ghana's bailout package with International Monetary Fund IMF. The cash meant for budget support and stabilization of the local currency was officially credited to the central bank's account, which means Ghana has now received a total of $1.2 billion out of the $3 billion approved under the 3-year standard credit facility in May last year. Some of you are asking if things are getting better. Why the planned imposition of this 15% VAT on electricity for non-lifeline residential customers? Listen to former President John Mahama and then the TUC.
Yeah, VAT law ache. And so ababia VAT no. Yemfan to Iram Kania so yemfan to electricity so. Na Jack Toronto any ni aketwa. Jack Toronto ni aketwa. Almost say wo so Kania e wo say utia VAT.
We will never be okay. We are not okay, and I don't think we'll be okay. They should withdraw that letter because we are not ready to pay any more taxes on electricity, whether it's beneficial to them or whatever it is. But there was no engagement, and this directive has come out. So how do you expect us to engage? All what Labour is calling for is a total withdrawal of that paper, of that directive by 31st of this month. It is enough. Taxes is enough. No negotiations about this one at all because government knows what it's doing.
You've heard it. No negotiations on this one at all. My guests are ready for this conversation. Connecting via Zoom, energy expert Ishmael Agbagba. We also have Bernard Joji. He's the Greater Accra Vice Chairman of the Ghana Association of Barbers and Barbering Salon Owners. Also connecting is Dr. Edward Akanyameke, National President of the Association of Ghana Hotels. And then Efo Della, he's also connecting. He's a blogger and a friend of the show. Also connecting is Harrison Mati. He is an entrepreneur, and he has been an entrepreneur spanning over a period of 2 decades in different sectors. He's also a friend of the show. Remember that you can send us a WhatsApp on 055 1111 997. 055 1111 997. Let me say welcome to our guests who are connecting with us. Gentlemen, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Let me start off with our expert. Let me start off with you, Ishmael Agbagba. The African Center for Energy Policy says its analysis suggests that only 5% of the population will benefit, from this exemption if this tax is implemented. What it means is that 95% of us will pay the 15% VAT on electricity when it's finally rolled out or implemented. Can you help us with some education on those who fall within this, lucky category of lifeline residential, customers?
Okay, thank you, Maxwell, and good evening to your listeners. So, the lifeline customers, lifeline itself is a social policy that was introduced way back in 1998, where it's supposed to provide a certain threshold of electricity, maximum threshold of electricity for folks who are deemed to be poor and who cannot afford. It was actually part of the energy sector reforms where tariff rationalization was going to be introduced and all of that. So the initial threshold was 100 kilowatt hours, and then it got reduced to 50 kilowatt hours per month. And then recently it was further reduced to 30 kilowatt hours per month. In terms of the number of customers who fall within this threshold, yes, I think Ben Isaac is right. There are not a lot of them. And there are also not a fixed number of them because you can be a lifeliner this month, but if you end up consuming more than 30 kilowatts, you fall into the necessary bracket. So there are not a lot of them, but let's also say that I think we need to be clear in our minds that certain categories of consumers have been paying VAT on electricity for close to a decade now. So the businesses are already paying, the non-residential customers are already paying, and they've been paying since I think 2014 or something like that. But it's an input VAT, so at the end of the day, they will be able to claim it back if they end up if the input or the output exceed each other, they do the reconciliation and they can reclaim it. But it's been around for close to a decade now.
Mr. Jacob, so for the layperson, if you said 30 kilowatts, per hour, what exactly are we looking at? 2 fridges, 1 air conditioner. What exactly are we looking at here?
Well, we're looking at basic energy consumption. So we're looking at a couple of lighting points, 1 fan, and I think 1 radio sound system. A poor person is not supposed to have a refrigerator. So that's the thinking behind what a lifeline tariff is. And so, yes, I think the PRC did an excellent job recently by telling us what 30 kilowatt hour of electricity a month will be able to do. It's not an awful lot. And that's the whole intention of the lifeline, is that the people are among the poorest of the poor, and that they need to be protected. There's a safety net. The only challenge we have with this implementation in Ghana is that many people are not benefiting because they end up living in multi-tenanted households, what we call the compound houses, where you share 1 meter. So when you aggregate the consumption of these individual households, they end up not being able to benefit from the lifeline. And like I said earlier on, you can be a lifeline this month and we can jump into the next threshold the following months.
Okay. That's a lot of education. Thanks much, Mr. Jacomino. I'll come back to you. But what this means is that clearly all our panelists do not fall within this category. They are not lucky. So what it means is that they're not going to benefit from this exemption. And like Mr. Ishmael Ejikun made reference to, and from the analysis done by ASEP, 95% of the population do not fall within this category. We're talking about 30 kilowatts per hour. Efodela, clearly, you are not a lifeline, consumer. You're a non-lifeline residential consumer. Tell me, what was it like when you heard this news about the planned imposition of 15% VAT on electricity? What was your reaction?
It was funny when I heard it, because a few weeks ago I was complaining that it looked like my bill had gone up and I hadn't changed anything, and I was complaining on social media that from between September and December I felt like my consumption had the cost of my consumption had gone up by almost 60%. So hearing that we're about to add taxes to that was a bit disheartening for me as a young person living in Accra, who is already struggling with the cost of ECG credits. Mind you, I think somewhere last year we had about an 18% increase in the second half of the year, and I think in the first half we had another 20 to 30% increase or something like that. So we've already had quite a lot of significant increases over the last few years, and like salaries are not going up, nothing is going up, and it's a bit disheartening, especially knowing that ECG already struggles to collect bills from a lot of public institutions, and somebody like me, a private citizen who is trying hard to pay all my bills, I get caught up with like new ways for which my tariffs should go up, whilst like government institutions and other institutions are not paying their bills and they are on postpaid meters. It's not very encouraging for a young person like me at all.
It's not encouraging for a young person like you. Bernard, I'm sure it was the same feeling you had when you heard about when you had announcement about the planned, imposition of the 15% tax on electricity. What really was your reaction when you heard the news?
Yes, Maxwell, good evening to you and your listeners.
Good evening.
I think
you are the chairman
chairman
of the Ghana Association of Barbers and Barbering Salon Owners. But let me make it clear that this will only affect residential, customers. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yes. So this wasn't a pleasant news at all, because knowing our business, we rely solely on electricity to run our businesses. And to have one of the major items on our overheads going up randomly is not the best news at all. So I didn't take it lightly at all. Especially today, for instance, I was actually complaining about how much my electricity has gone up. It's actually gone up over 50%, just I think from September to now, which is not a good thing at all. So now, if we are actually thinking about increasing it by 15% more, it would rather do damage to our businesses than good.
So that's the business side, but this would affect, your residence, where you live. Tell me, I've heard a lot of stories about how people have had to make a lot of adjustments during the period last year. For instance, when we were deeply in the woods, government itself has admitted that yes, things are improving gradually, but we are not completely, out of the woods yet. They say, or they tell us that things are getting a bit better. I know last year a lot of people have had to make a lot of adjustments, just to live, just to survive. Some people who patronize ride-hailing services had to stop. They had to use trotros because they just couldn't afford the fares. Tell me, at home, did you have to make any adjustments in your electricity, consumption last year, or maybe this year because of how much you were spending on electricity?
Yes, Maxwell, to be sincere with you, we'd have to cut down the usage of some of our appliances. You would have to make adjustments to make sure that you don't spend too much, because to be sincere with you, the incomes we are making are not so much. So if what you are spending in terms of electricity in your household is increasingly going up every month or every 3 months, you will definitely have to make adjustments. For instance, my last born, my son, doesn't like heat, so constantly you would have to on the AC for him to feel comfortable. But these days you can't afford to do that. So then you have to rather manage opening your louvers and all of that so that we can survive. So it's not a pleasant thing if constantly prices of electricity have to go up.
Interesting. Dr. Edward Akanyameke, you're the president of the Association of Ghana Hotels. You've heard from Bernard. He's had to make a lot of adjustments at home just to stay afloat. I don't know about you, what it was like for you last year when we were deeply in the woods and now that we're gradually coming out. Have you had to make any adjustments yourself?
Thank you, Maxwell. Good evening to my co-panelists and your listeners as well. The story is not different from my end. We've all had to make adjustments to ensure that we have a balanced domestic economy, as I will put it. Indeed, when I heard about the 15% VAT on electricity for domestic users, my first comment was that this is something that the business group had been paying since 2013 or 2014 or so, except that because the system allows us as registered VAT payers to claim input tax credit, we are able to balance it against our output or sales VAT. But when we put it in perspective, we employ people, we employ workers, and they are going to be affected by this VAT, which means that then there are going to be complaints about salaries. There are going to be complaints for increased remuneration, and that is where we have an issue with. So whereas as employers, you are also going to pay more from home in terms of your electricity consumption, you go to the workplace, your workers and your staff are also going to agitate for increased salary because of the 50% that government wants to introduce on electricity. And, I find it quite interesting that, since about a year ago, the PLC has been adjusting the tariffs quarterly. Every quarter there's an adjustment. And most of the time, it's an upward adjustment.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is why people keep saying that between last year, September, and now, electricity has gone up between 60 and 70% because of adjustment. And now we are going to add the 15% value added tax. And these are domestic users who are not registered with that and cannot strike any of that with any sales output. Okay, and that is where I think I tend to think that whoever is pulling the strings, whether it's the IMF, must be very, very powerful to make the government appear so insensitive to the plight of Ghanaians. Okay, and that is where my worry is. Maxwell.
Harrison, you've had Dr. Akanyamike. His fear is that the planned imposition of this 15% VAT on electricity is going to trickle down to his employers. And that means that there will be a lot of agitation for salary adjustments and all of that. You are an entrepreneur, 20 years experience. I'm sure you're an employer as well. Is this something you also fear is likely going to happen if this VAT is implemented on electricity?
Yeah, thank you, Maxwell. I also feel the same. I believe that our employees are going to feel the pressure. But let me look at the other side of the whole thing, the taxes that we need to pay this year. As an employer, I know that there's been a change in the pay-as-you-earn tax that we usually pay. So last year, I was paying a tax of I was paying salary of about 24,000 gross. The tax element of around 10%. But this year, for the first 5,880 cedis that you earn as an employee, you are not going to be taxed on that. So for me, I just see the government playing a game of we tax you here, we give you
Robin Peter to pay for.
Robin Peter to pay for. So I think that in terms of salary, if employers, as myself, will be fair and just to our employees and give back to them whatever savings we are making on the improvements in taxes, that will some way somehow cushion them. But beyond those who are earning taxes who are going to benefit from these changes, those below the lower middle income, those in the lower middle income, or those even in the very low income levels, the burden is still going to be there. There is going to a lot of people run businesses from home.
Yeah.
And I know when you said businesses, once the price of electricity goes up, everything is going to go up. So it's like you said, Robin Peter to pay for. I just feel that the government machinery or the GRA is not doing justice to what they are giving for what they are taking from us. That's my view about it. And I don't deny the fact that the increment on electricity for residential purpose or residential use is going to have an effect on everyone.
Mr. Ishmael Jekumihene, you are an energy expert, and government has explained why it plans to impose this 15% tax. In fact, government says that it's part of its COVID-19 recovery program, aiming to generate additional revenue. We've been hearing from one of the deputy energy ministers, Andre Japamesa, who has been telling us that it's necessary, to settle the debt owed the independent power producers. Last month we had issues with, I think this month, we had issues with them. Some people thought that Dumso was actually coming back. We're all complaining until government, went in to make some payments. Then we saw our power situation stabilizing. Government says that it needs money to pay the IPPs. He has to take the hard decisions. And this is one of the ways to raise the money to settle the debts. If we don't want Dumso, we certainly have to increase how much we're paying for electricity. Don't you agree?
Well, electricity, like every business, when you need to be able to. Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah, so There is a cost associated with every kilowatt hour of electricity that any of the IPPs generate and ECG sells. So if you running a business and you are not able to recover the full cost, then there will be losses, and either somebody will have to pay or you run out of business. The challenge that we have in our country is that we still have a lot of collection inefficiencies, and even when the PURC approves tariffs that are supposed to cover the full cost of electricity, we still end up unable to collect enough money to be able to pay for everybody in the value chain. So that's the real problem. And I mean, if that problem is not resolved, just like the e-levy, for example, when it was introduced, when people if you're unable to collect it, then you will not be able to get the revenues that you expected. But the stark reality too is that the energy sector is deep, especially the electricity sector is in deep trouble. Only yesterday, the IMF, the country director saying that the total energy sector, electricity sector debt is around 1.6 billion. I think it's more than that, but these monies, so long as we are unable to, the sector itself is not able to pay for it, it means that government will have to come in and be finding money for the difference between what is required to pay everybody in the value chain, what ECG and the other distribution companies are able to collect. So yes, the energy sector needs money, the electricity sector needs money, and I believe it's the reason why the PURC over the past year said that, look, the tariffs will have to keep pace with the cost of producing the service. What hasn't happened is the fact that we're unable to collect all the power that is being sold. And it's not only because of ECG efficiencies, but it's also because of our own attitude, okay? And a lot of people are not paying for the electricity they are using. They are stealing the power, plain theft. People are stealing power. We know them. Some of them, we know them. We are not reporting them. There are people who have their air conditioners not passing through their meters. So it means that even if they are using 500 units, they are paying for 200 units. If we continue to do that, and if we don't change their lifestyle, then that kind of practices, illegalities. I mean, unless there's a policeman standing in everybody's house and making sure that people are actually paying for what they consume, the energy sector is going to continue to be in this situation. We want to challenge the utilities to be efficient, but there is a bit of our own attitudes and a bit of our own behaviors that needs to change. Otherwise, nobody will be able to help us fix this problem. But before I come back to you, I think there are a few I want to very quickly correct. I think my co-panelist who is into the salon business, I mean, if his bills are going up, unfortunately, it's got nothing to do with the proposed VAT because it hasn't been implemented. And secondly, he's already paying the VAT. I mean, the non-residential customers are already paying the VAT since 2013, just like our co-panelists from the hoteliers, they are paying already. So I thought I needed to correct that.
Yeah, but now he's going to pay as a residential customer.
Exactly.
So that'll be double taxation, you don't think so?
If the problem is that if he's operating from his house, and he's not registered as a non-residential consumer, then yes, he's going to start paying for the first time. Because, you know, some of these businesses are already also within the residential units. So maybe they are still using residential meters, in which case, yes, then once the VAT kicks in, they're going to have to pay the VAT now, even though they didn't used to pay until the enforcement. I wouldn't call it imposition. I think it's an enforcement of an existing law.
Della, I'll be coming to you shortly. But Mr. Jacome, you talked about power theft. And indeed, some experts have said that if we go ahead with this 15% VAT on electricity, it's likely going to exacerbate the issue of power theft because residential users, power become very expensive to residential users, and which will get a lot of people trying to illegally get the power to their homes.
Maxwell, I hear that. But the truth of the matter is that it's just like saying that the system is hard, so people are going into armed robbery. You know, if we have a problem with the cost of power, let's find a way of dealing with that. But it is no justification. I agree with fully with everybody. I pay for electricity just like everybody does, but I don't steal the power. Okay, so let's try and. I think we need to have a campaign that would get every one of us to start behaving like a proper citizen. If the price of goods and services are expensive, it doesn't mean that you should go to a supermarket and shoplift. Because when you do that, you're breaking the law. Okay, so let's try and let's face the facts. There are a lot of people are stealing power. If this VAT comes in and becomes a little bit more expensive, and you go and steal it, you must as well go and steal anytime prices go up, because why is it that you are doing it only with electricity? Okay, so I agree with everybody that it's expensive when this thing hits in. But that is not a good enough reason for you to say that you want. And you see, Maxwell, the truth of the matter is that some people want to have comfort. You want to have an air conditioner, and you don't want to pay for the cost of that. I don't have air conditioners in my home, even though I wish I could install them, because I'm checking my energy bills. I don't have air conditioners. But if you choose to have an air conditioner, then don't bypass your meter. I'm sure that I believe Ghana Connect, you probably will have to have another show, another program on this. Let's all be good citizens, and let's make sure that when we are playing our role properly, then we can demand some level of efficiency from ECG. But sometimes we make it practically impossible. If everybody is stealing, the commercial users are stealing, everybody is stealing, go to big factories, they are stealing. I mean, so they sell 100 cedis worth of power and they're only able to collect 50 cedis. I must admit some of their own people are able, sometimes complicit, but we are the same people who are playing along with them when they come to our homes and say that, should I pass it through the meter or I should bypass the meter? I think that's another topic for another time, but that's part of the problem, and it's becoming increasingly problematic. It's got nothing to do with the price of, otherwise everybody will be stealing.
Okay. Let me come to you, Dela. For Dela, you've heard Mr. Ejiko Mehene. Clearly, if you want to have your comfort, you can drink champagne on an Asana budget. Essentially, that's what he's saying. If you want comfort, if you want to have your AC in your room, you need to pay for the power. And indeed, he has reiterated the point that he has stated that we need money to pay the IPPs. If we don't want to do so, we need to pay more for the power so government could settle the IPP so our power situation will be stable. Are you ready to pay? Are you ready to pay more to get?
I don't agree with the analogy that he made. His analogy has a bit of flaws. My analogy, what he's saying would have been, if you went to a shop and you noticed that people were shoplifting and the shop owner wasn't doing anything about the people shoplifting. Instead, the shop owner's solution is that he was going to increase the prices of things for people who were not shoplifting so that he could make up for the interest. You would be upset, right? And that is what we are having here. ECG cannot complain that people are bypassing meters if they are not doing a good job of patrolling. ECG cannot say that they are not able to collect bills and then decide that because they are not able to collect bills from certain people, they are going to pass on the cost difference to those who are paying. I think it was somewhere at the beginning of last year on a sister station, one of the ECG PROs was going around talking about how they were trying to collect bills from government institutions who were owing bills to the tune of millions of Ghana cedis. And we never heard the end of that. The next thing we heard somewhere in the middle of the year was that tariffs were going up. So you can understand why people are upset. People are not really upset about the fact that bills go up. They are upset that ECG does not plug the leakages in its system and instead transfers the cost to people who are already paying. I'm already paying bills prepaid credit. You can't say that because I'm paying prepaid credit and somebody who is paying postpaid credit has not paid, you're going to put taxes on me to make up for the difference and say I should be a watchdog for the people who are doing the wrong thing. That is unfair to me as a customer, and I do not think it's like his analogy makes really. It's not his analogy doesn't.
Maxwell, can I correct something?
Oh, okay, sure. You can come in, Mr. Jukumine.
Okay, so I hear Lumela.
Yeah.
Okay, so my analogy is not saying that because some people are not paying, the truth of the matter is that when ECG is not unable to collect, it's not everything that ECG is unable to collect that is passed on. So I mean, ECG doesn't, and they don't announce tariffs, the PURC. And PURC has a threshold of losses that they permit. Those are allowable losses that if ECG is supposed to collect 98% of their billed electricity, it's only 2% that PURC allows that it should be part of the tariff. So I thought that I should correct that. But Bella, I believe that you are not stealing, but the system is such that if you are not stealing, everybody is stealing. The problem is what we have now. What we have now is that even with the best of ECG's efforts, we are unable to collect up to even 60% or 70% of what they are supposed to collect. Here is the problem. The problem you see is that then we don't have money to pay the WAPCOs, and then WAPCO will threaten us, and that when the gas, the pipeline is not supplying the gas, load is being shared. That's the problem. And hitherto, the government will have to find money to pay them very quickly so that you don't hear about these things. But in this era where we have an IMF program and all the problems that we have, government, I don't believe, is that liquid. And that's part of the problem, the reason why these days you bought your prepaid and you still can't get the power. But this is the problem. You are using prepaid and you probably are not stealing, but there are prepaid users who are stealing power. So even though they are prepaid, they buy 100 cedis and it's supposed to last them for a day, but because of what they've done, they can take it to about 10 days. Yes, let ECG police, but look, there are over 5 million ECG customers. Between 4 and 5 million ECG customers. So
okay,
it tells you the magnitude of the problem.
Sure. Let me come to Dr. Aka Nyameke now. Doc, I am a rational consumer, so definitely I would want to drink. I want to drink champagne as on a budget. I'm sure it's the same thing for majority of my panelists and for those of you doing the listening. Government is saying that if you want to enjoy stable power, we definitely have to pay more for it. We have to settle debts, old IPPs, and all of that. You've had Mr. Ejikumini making that point. I want to find out, Doc, are you ready to pay more for power just so you can enjoy a stable power?
Well, Max, this debate continues to come back. And for me, the bottom line is a very simple matter. Yes, we need the utilities, electricity and water, to operate our businesses. And yes, we are ready to pay economic rates for the electricity or the other utilities that we consume. What has happened over the years is, I think, some unfairness in this whole tariff system. And let me give this particular example. You know, when we talk about the commercial users, or those who use electricity for commercial purposes, these are people who are using it to create employment. Okay, to create employment, in other words, supporting the government in that particular endeavor.
Yeah.
However, over the years, these are the businesses who have paid very high costs for electricity. You go to other jurisdictions, relatively, the
domestic users pay more for electricity consumption than businesses. For the reason that I have explained earlier. So they use it to create employment, and then also take the hotel industry as a typical example. We don't really have much control over some aspects of the business when it comes to electricity consumption.
Yeah.
You will certainly have to put on your electricity for security. You will certainly have to put on your electricity for the customers to use in their rooms and all that. Now, when it comes to domestic, there's some amount of control, as earlier speakers may have alluded to. You can decide to go off an air conditioner because your bills are going too high, and you can save some costs there. But when it comes to commercial use, it's a different ballgame altogether. So we started pushing for that imbalance in the tariff system some years back. Occasionally, we get the energy ministers over the years come to say that, oh yes, we are trying to correct it. And even the PRC, I think last year or so, late last year, they came up with that point that we are trying to correct it so that the consumption by the commercial users will not be too high as compared to the domestic use. I don't know whether this is part of that plan to balance the equation. But back to your point, so long as there's fairness in the tariff rating, so long as the payment of the electricity will be based on actual consumption and actual production costs. And I agree with, is it Dela who made that point that, you see, for me, it is the work of the electricity company or the power producers to ensure that every consumer pays. Because naturally, anybody who gets the opportunity to take advantage, it's everybody who is as righteous as some others feel. Okay, so when you create that opportunity for people to steal electricity, they will. Don't we have a system that is being used in other countries that minimizes the stealing of electricity so that the actual cost of production will be lower and more benefit from it? Yes, we can join the crusade of getting people to play the righteous line and ensure that they pay for what they consume. But what about the other segment of the society who feel that they have to take advantage of everything? And it's not for only electricity. I mean, drop your 1,000 cents on the floor now. You will get a number of people who just take it and see it as
a gift from God. Yeah,
exactly. So that is the angle from which I will look at it. That if the system is operating fairly, if we are producing at the right cost, and then we are charging, we will simply adjust our rates so that we stay in business. Because we need this utility to stay in the business. It is better than doing so.
Harrison, you've had Dr. Akanyameke. I want to find out from you, are you willing to pay more just to enjoy stable power? Are you willing to pay more? Hello, Harrison.
Hi, Maxwell. Yeah, so like everyone has said, in my business, I pay 12.5 VAT. I pay the 5% get fund in HI or anytime I buy power. So for me, I mean, if we need a power, we have to pay more. So I am willing to pay more. But then there also has to be some efficiencies in the system where ECG should be able to collect more revenue. They should find a way to, they should use smart meters that could easily detect when leaking rather than AC. That is a fair system. So, and so ECG is able to collect the majority of its revenue. We will go through some of these challenges. But I also think that the government shouldn't always move into increasing taxes. We should find a way to increase widen the tax bracket.
Exactly. That's going to be my next question to Mr. Jikume.
Provide value for, yes. provide value for small businesses who don't see the need to get registered and pay taxes, so that they will see the need to. And also find some reward. ECG should make it possible that if I pay my bill constantly in a year, there should be some points assigned to me that will encourage me to do so the following year. I think these are measures that we could put in place to ensure that the energy sector is able to mobilize a lot of its revenue.
Great. So yeah, it's time for us to go on social media, get on social media to hear what you are saying on social media. It's time for you to actually connect to us in the studio right now. Michael Papani actually is here in the studio to give us what is happening on social media, what you are saying on social media.
Yes,
Michael?
Maxwell. Interesting conversation. Quite a number of people are interested as well. But you'll be surprised to hear what some people are saying, especially about this type of meter. You know, this affects residential consumers and not businesses. We've heard from some businesses that they're already paying for that.
Yeah.
But this time around, residential users like you and I will begin to pay. But let's start from Okpongolo, where Mary is connecting with us. She says, Maxwell, most of the meters in town are resident meters. And that's what I side. And that's what I use at my side, the hairdressing business. It's trouble for me. It takes long to get business meters. I mean, she's trying to tell us that the meter she's using is one she took from home and went to put in her business.
Yeah.
So ideally, it's recognized as a meter for a residential facility, and she's using it for her business. So certainly, it means something for her. She's going to pay more for her electricity. Let's go to Emmanuel, who's connected with us from Oyarifa. He says, see, I don't know what is going on. What value am I creating at home to pay that tax? Is that not the idea for the value added tax? Emmanuel is asking me. Emmanuel, I'm not sure I have that answer, but well, this doesn't make sense. That's what Emmanuel says. Now, King Delord from Taifa says, so why does Akufo-Addo think he can implement what was passed in 2013 but has not been implemented? He definitely isn't thinking about us. That's King Delord. To Kaneshi Red Light now, Tina says, I will surely sack someone from my business. My meter too is a residential meter. Already, there are discussions to pass this on to consumers among people in my category. Wow, interesting. Just like you heard the trotro driver say, well, if you're going to charge us more, definitely the consumers have to pay for this. Then finally, Maxwell is texting us from UCC. He says, they should work on reducing, I beg your pardon, the losses in the energy sector and leave us alone. Maxwell, I've reported that I don't get bills for my meter for months and no one has come to even check. What do they expect me to do? This is not fair. What value am I creating with this? Same question here. So Maxwell, you're getting people, questioning the reasoning, the idea, decision to I give 15% VAT on electricity consumption beyond the lifeline. And lifeline, 30 kg kilowatts. You heard the professor mention that essentially means a couple of bulbs and one fan.
Yeah.
Beyond
30 kilowatts per hour.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had Michael Papani Ashale with your views from social media. Let me come to you, Mr. Jekumhine. You've heard from some of our listeners who are connecting with us via social media. Some persons are saying that we are so quick to impose taxes on people. We are actually not thinking outside the box. You've heard Harrison saying that we should widen the tax net. Some of our listeners are also saying that, look, the Electricity Company of Ghana should find a better way of maximizing their revenue, their revenue collection measures. They should increase it. They should find ways of, collecting the monies rather than imposing this, 15% VAT on us.
So actually, I agree with what everybody is saying, except that this 15% doesn't even go to ECG. Just like the street lights levy and all these are not going to ECG, but they are always in arrears. This money, even if they collect, might not even get to the government. So, I mean, you heard the managing director of ECG himself on your show yesterday, almost like opposing this whole move. So I fully agree
on PM Express with
everybody.
Evan Spencer, yeah.
Yeah, the PM measure. So ECG, yes, they are in the business of selling power. NEDCO is in the business of selling power, and they have to be efficient. And they should have performance targets that the people who employ them should use against if they don't deliver. They should be fired. The problem is that people don't get fired when they don't deliver. So I agree with everybody. But what we're talking about here is a tax measure, and I agree that we need to widen the tax bracket. There are too many of us in this country who don't pay taxes. And once we keep targeting the people who pay, it becomes increasingly difficult for people to pay. But certainly, we need to broaden the tax base. But if you recall what the deputy minister said, this money is supposed to, if the VAT is paid, it's supposed to be used to pay the huge indebtedness that is hanging around our neck due to the problems in the energy sector.
Yeah. Dr. Akanyamike, now I want to find out what your verdict is on this issue. Clearly, the Ministry of Finance, we are told, the Energy Ministry also are having discussions on how to implement this. The ECG boss, Dubik Mahama, said it in an interview on PM Express with Evan Spencer. So clearly, there are plans to impose that 15% VAT. What is your verdict? Are you ready? Should they go ahead? What should happen?
That's an interesting question. It's difficult to answer with a yes or no. To the extent that we are all very clear on the challenges that we are facing as a country, and we've made some progress. However, we need to sustain that progress. I must admit that I don't know the details of the figures that has warranted this particular 15% VAT on domestic consumption of electricity, which of course appears very unpopular. Okay, so from that angle, I would have recommended that we do not implement it. But if we don't implement it and it's going to have an effect, okay, on the macroeconomic indicators or the macroeconomic indicators, which will take us back to the challenges we had in 2022, then it might sound reasonable to say, let's bite the bullet and go ahead with it.
Okay.
So let me just conclude on this.
Okay.
You see, sometimes it's the communication of some of these things that creates the challenge even more than the actual thing that we want to implement. We've been talking, some of the information we hear is that during COVID, we used free electricity, and so this is another measure to get that money back. In that case, what about the COVID-19 debt, which we are still paying? And these alleges that we try to even get the amount that has been raised and the targets that we set ourselves and where we are now. Sometimes we don't get this information coming. Okay, so this particular 15% level, what exactly, that on the domestic consumption, what exactly is it going to be? So what's the target? And how long are we going to bear it? Okay. So, like I said, it's a difficult question to give a yes or no answer. And we'll have to consider all the factors to see whether it's appropriate to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Let me come to you, Efodela. Efodela, you had Dr. Akanyamike raising questions about the COVID-19 levy and all of that. But government is also explaining that this part of government's COVID-19 recovery program aiming to generate additional revenue for the government to enable it pay the IPPs and all of that, to pay WAPCO and the rest. I want to find out from you what your verdict is. Should government go ahead?
So I would actually not want government to go ahead because we are already dealing with a lot of taxes and a lot of increases. And from the perspective of somebody who is using electricity, we don't really care if it's a COVID-19 levy or if it's a VAT levy or if the payment is going to ECG or the IPPs or anybody like that. It's just a bill that comes to the user, and the user has to pay more. And so it's going to be a difficult situation for everybody. And salaries have not gone up in a long time. We're just creating a very difficult situation for people. And I understand that we have a lot of responsibilities as a country to our external debtors and things like that. But I feel like the country has a lot of leakages that we need to plug. And instead of doing that, we are taking the easy way out and punishing the average user who is already paying an exorbitant amount of taxes with new taxes, new levies, and new increases. And I feel very bad for everybody who has to endure this. It's not our fault that we got in this situation. Our leaders promised us that they had credible solutions, and that is why we voted for them. And if after coming into power, all those solutions that they offered us, they are not able to implement it, it's not on us to suffer the consequences this much.
Okay. I want to say a big thank you to you. Bernard, 10 seconds. What's your verdict? Should government go ahead?
Yeah, Maxwell. For
10 seconds.
Yes, as a business person, we are affected. So it is not somewhere the government should be going. I think that what the government should be considering is finding avenues of collecting the monies that other people are stealing. For us in business, it affects our income directly. It forms a huge part of our expenses. So even if they think that is an option they want to go for, then they should give us incentives to increase the incomes we are making in our businesses. The interest on loans should go down for us to be able to assess them so that we can improve our businesses and be able to pay the increments, whatever increments they are coming up with. Thank you.